Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of One Hit Wonders, the show where we take a look at those bands, could be supergroups, could be just young groups just getting started out who release an album, maybe a really notable album, maybe not a really notable album, but they release that album and then kaput, they're done. So remember, let's not get this confused. These are not bands who have a whole bunch of albums and maybe only one is really good. No, these are bands who only ever released one album. Okay, and I do want to make a little correction. So on the last episode, I talked about that Tear Gas self-titled album. My mistake. They actually had one album that was released a year or two prior to that one that for some reason all these years I was not aware of. So Tear Gas should be taken out of that list. All right, Tear Gas does not count in this discussion because they actually had two studio albums. So here we're going to take a look at a bunch of bands that only ever released one album. Some of these are pretty damn good. So let's get started here. At the top of my list, we're going to go to 1979 for an album by somewhat of a minor supergroup, I guess. The band is called St. Paradise. Okay, so here we've got Derek St. Holmes, at the time, formerly of Ted Nugent's band. You've got Rob Grange, also formerly of Ted Nugent's band, on bass. And then you got a guy named Denny Carmassi, former drummer of Montrose. So kind of a notable band, right? They've released this very fine album on, what was this on? I don't remember the label. Was this Epic? I don't remember off the top of my head. Pretty good album. Good, commercial, very appealing, hard rock album. Not a lot of songs, but just, straight to you, tighten the knot, very good. Beside the Sea, you got Jackie, Gambling Man. It's kind of bluesy, right? Definitely heavy rocking, but very, very accessible stuff. One of those bands, Derek St. Holmes, you got Whitford St. Holmes as well, which I'm not counting in this series because they have put out another album in recent years. But for many, many years, Whitford St. Holmes would have definitely been a must-have for a show like this. But St. Paradise did this one album, and then that was it. Never to be heard from again. Of course, all those guys went on to do all sorts of other things, but this was the first and only album of their union together. All right, next up, we're going to go to 1993. Got to talk about this one, right? Coverdale-Page, self-titled. This was kind of a big deal, right? So you had, Coverdale kind of putting Whitesnake to bed at the time. Page had been kind of going through the 80s after the breakup of Led Zeppelin, the death of John Bonham, just working on some little solo stuff here and there, but really not doing a hell of a lot of anything. And so why not put these two guys together? It was almost like a dream, come true for a lot of people. And it turned into a very good album. Big seller here in the States. This was a gold album. Got a lot of airplay, a lot of attention. Again, the meaning of Whitesnake and Zeppelin. Got Denny Carmassi once again on drums. All right, a variety of other musicians helping out here, but some really good songs. Unfortunately, this project kind of imploded before it really had a chance to kick it off. They played a couple dates internationally, and then they were set to play a tour here, go on a tour here in the States, and ticket sales were really low, and they just decided, what, let's kind of scrap the whole thing, and that was it. But a lot of people still talk about this album. They still go back to this album. You got Shake My Tree, great rockin' tune to kick it all off. You got Pride and Joy, which got a lot of people talking about, a little bit of airplay. Waiting on You is good. Take Me for a Little While, I did quite a bit. What else we got here? Feeling Hot's a good rocker. Take a Look at Yourself. Whisper a Prayer for the Dying. Top to bottom, really strong album. Coverdale sounds great. It's great to hear Page playing, heavy rock stuff again. And, I was kind of disappointed when this kind of just fizzled out, right? But what are you going to do? Number 8. How about a year later from that one? 1994. Dr. Butcher. Self-titled. Okay, here you got a little band put together by John Oliva and Chris Caffrey. Okay, both Savatage members. You got Johnny Osborne on drums. So basically, John leaves Savatage for a brief period of time. He and Chris form this very, very heavy band. That's really similar to like early Savatage. I mean, this is really heavy, like Sirens and Power of the Night, Dungeons Are Calling, that era Savatage. Unfortunately, they released this album. There's all this talk about, hey, we're going to do more. Maybe we'll do a tour, all this kind of stuff. But then before you know it, you blink, and they both rejoin Savatage. And Dr. Butcher has kind of remained dormant to this day, although, I've talked to Chris multiple times, and he always was hoping that him and John would get back together to kind of do part 2 of this whole thing, but it just, as of now, has not happened. But man, some great songs on here. Don't Talk to Me, Season of the Witch, Innocent Victim, Lost in the Dark, The Chair, Juice, all sorts of really, really good, heavy tracks. This is a barn burner of an album, right? So, have we seen the last of Dr. Butcher? I don't know, but man, it's been a long-ass time. Long time. All right, number 7. Let me get a little drink here. Hold on a second. All right, next up, another kind of supergroup. So we got a band called Natural Gas. Released this album in 1976. Self-titled. So who's in Natural Gas, you might ask? We got Jerry Shirley, formerly of Humble Pie, on drums. Joey Molland, guitarist from Badfinger. Mark Clark, bass player from Coliseum, Uriah Heep, Rainbow, tons of other bands. And Peter Wood on keyboards. Good hard rock album, good classic rock sounding album. The rock's a little bit harder than Badfinger, maybe not quite as hard as Humble Pie. A lot of songs. I got 13 tracks on here. Well, on the CD, you got 13 tracks, a couple demos and rehearsal tracks, but 10 songs. You Can Do It, Little Darlin', I Believe It's Love, The Right Time is a good one, Miracle Mile. Solid stuff, but one and done. All right, from 1978, how about this little band from New Jersey called Trigger, self-titled. Got noticed by the folks at Casablanca Records. They got signed to the label, right? Everybody's thinking big things, but basically, label kind of ignored them. It's almost like they didn't know what to do with them. I guess they had their hands full with Kiss and Donna Summer and Angel, right? So Trigger just kind of got the shaft. Good hard rock sound, very appealing. If you like Angel, you like Kiss, that sort of thing. Maybe a little bit of, trying to think of some other bands that, maybe a little Cheap Trick, all right? Maybe a little, Billy Squier, right? That sort of thing. Good album. Played a lot of live shows. I remember when I was a kid, they played all over the place around here in the Hudson Valley, but you know what? They didn't get any kind of push from the label. The album kind of died a quick death. Label dropped them, and the band kind of fizzled after that, which is a shame because they were really busy up to getting signed and releasing this album, but then that was it. Trigger, self-titled. Good album. All right, next up, another one-hit wonder. From 1969, a band called Bakerloo. Pretty cool album, man. If you like heavy blues rock, this was a really good band. There's a couple, notable guy here, Clem Clemson, on guitar and vocals. All right, this is prior to him joining Coliseum, prior to him joining Humble Pie. You got Terry Poole on bass and Keith Baker, briefly from the early incarnation of Uriah Heep, on drums. If you love Cream, maybe the Jimi Hendrix Experience a little bit, that sort of thing, kind of like that heavy blues rock, psychedelic type of thing. Lots of jamming, lots of pretty cool arrangements, lots of cool riffs and solos. I dig this album quite a bit. Really good stuff. Some longer tunes. You got Bring It On Home, Driving Backwards. What else? The Worried Feeling, Son of Moonshine. Excellent stuff. It's one of those ones I was happy to stumble upon. Okay, let's go way more recent. 2013, band called California Breed. Their one and only self-titled album. So California Breed, of course, formed out of, at the time, the ashes of Black Country Communion. So basically, you've got Joe Bonamassa on guitar and vocals, Glenn Hughes on bass and vocals, Jason Bonham on drums, Derek Shereen on keyboards. That's Black Country Communion. You got Glenn Hughes wants this to be the band, right? It's like he's like, I want to do this full time. We're going to take over the world. I want to tour the world. I want to crank out albums. And then you got Joe Bonamassa, who's like, well, I've got a really lucrative, busy solo career that I can't just walk away from. So the two of them for a little while were at odds at kind of what to do with Black Country Communion, and basically they decided, you know what, we can't come to an agreement on what we want this band to be, so we're just going to kind of call it a day. So immediately you've got Hughes and Jason Bonham forming this band called California Breed, along with young American guitarist and now also producer Andrew Watt for this album. Pretty good album. I mean, that's The Way, Sweet Tea is a good song. The Gray, Spit You Out. It's not quite Black Country Communion. It's not as kind of rooted in like 70s blues rock and hard rock as that band is. A little more kind of modern sounding, a little funky in spots, less, because Andrew Watt, pretty good guitar player, but he's not a soloist like Bonamassa is, so there's not a lot of like really cool solos on here. This is more of a just kind of like meat and potatoes, solid record. They were going to go out and tour. They wanted to do a big tour. Turns out, headlining tour really wasn't in the cards. So Glenn decided to take an opening gig for Alter Bridge on their tour. I think from what I've read, Jason felt that, not a lot of money doing that. So he got another gig. I believe he went and did the Phil Collins gig, solo tour. And so they were left without a drummer. So they went and get Joey Castillo on board from Queens of the Stone Age and a couple other bands. They go play the Alter Bridge tour, which Alter Bridge tours, draws pretty well, so probably a big tour, good tour for them. But then, they got word that Jason was probably not going to come back to the band, so after the tour, they kind of folded. That was the last we ever heard of California Breed, and as the story goes, of course, Black Country Communion has since reconvened, put out another album. Apparently they have another one that they're looking forward to doing at some point in not too distant future. So, there you have that. All right, so this is a big one, right? 1969. How about the self-title from Blind Faith? Probably one of the weirdest and worst album covers of all time, right? Kind of tacky, although it was 69. So, I think here in the U.S. they released basically, let's see if I even have it now, basically this color album, which is the picture of the band on the front. But, here you got this underage girl with what looks like Wishbone Ash's Plane from their first album, right? Of course, this is a Hypnosis album, a killer album, though. Or the supergroup this was probably, next to Cream, but I think more importantly, this was probably the first real supergroup because by this time, all these guys were absolute superstars. So you had Eric Clapton on guitar, fresh from Cream. You got Steve Winwood. Traffic is kind of on hiatus at the time. Of course, he was also with the Spencer Davis Group. Ginger Baker came with Eric from Cream. And you got Rick Gretsch from Family, on bass. 6 songs, really all you needed. Every one a classic. I Had to Cry Today. Can't Find My Way Home. Nice kind of acoustic folky tune, really memorable. You got the rousing Well Alright. You got Presence of the Lord. Got, good bluesy rock psychedelic song. Sea of Joy. And then the jammin' tune, Do What You Like. And then, of course, Had to Cry Today's got that great riff to it. So it's a really, really excellent album. They went out on tour, the big tour, but, they only had these 6 songs. Can't play a whole 90-minute or 2-hour-long set on a big, massive tour like this with, they had Free opening up and Delaney and Bonnie and all these other big bands, and or up-and-coming bands, I should say. And, you got to fill up a set list, right? So basically they played most of this album, and then they played Cream and Traffic classics, which, from what you read, is not really what Clapton wanted to do. I think by this time, Clapton was tired of being like the main guy in the spotlight after, Cream broke up, and he was more looking to just kind of like be a member of a band. And he didn't want to be out there doing all these long jams and stuff like that. So really, they had a problem because they really didn't have enough material, so they had to play all those old favorites, right? And between all the egos in the band and Clapton's, wanting to kind of take a step back, they didn't last. They had the tour, and then boof, it was over and done with, right? So, next one, 1975, another self-titled. A lot of self-titled ones on this list, right? Another kind of supergroup here, Armageddon. Great album from 1975. Oh, love the album cover, love the back cover. This is a classic, right? So here you have Bobby Caldwell on drums from Captain Beyond. Bobby would also play with a lot of other people throughout the decade. Keith Relf from the Yardbirds and Renaissance, the first incarnation of Renaissance. Keith on vocals here. Got Martin Pugh, on guitars from Steamhammer, and bassist Louis Sonamo, also from Steamhammer, as well as Renaissance. This is a really good hard rock album. Even prog fans like this. It's got some kind of cool, complex arrangements. I kind of always lump this album with the debut from Captain Beyond. Very, very similar, I think. A lot of similarities anyway. But a really good album. Really good album. Great guitar work on here. Again, not a lot of songs, some longish tracks. You got, Long Stand Before, the Great Buzzard, which kicks it off, Silver Tightrope. And then you got that nice long kind of medley at the end there, multi-part suite. Really, really good album. But, another one of those bands that was kind of doomed from the beginning. You got drug addiction and poor health running rampant throughout the band. And then they wind up breaking up, right? Not a lot of promotion on the album, which is a shame. I think more people kind of appreciate this album all these years later. But at the time, not a lot, right? And then a year later, Keith Relf is dead. Right, so that would be it for Armageddon. But really, really cool album. If you haven't heard it, definitely check it out. And then the last one for this show, for this edition of the show, for this part of the show, is this really cool album from 1971 by a band called Boomerang, self-titled. Weird-ass cover, right? So this, of course, is the band started up by Mark Stein, organ and keyboard player and vocalist from the Vanilla Fudge. So Vanilla Fudge went on a bit of a hiatus, right? As everybody's moving on to different things. Half that band moving on to Cactus and so on and so forth. So here you've got really heavy organ, hard rock, bits of prog, a couple little folky tunes on here as well, or more acoustic fare. But, you got Mark Stein, you got James Galuzzi on drums, you got Richard Ramirez on guitars, and Joe Casimir on bass guitar and vocals. I dig this album a lot. I always love Mark's organ playing, and I think, like you listen to a song like Juke and The Fisherman and The Peddler, Mockingbird, Cynthia Fever, you got big guitars, blistering bluesy lead solos, you got the organ, I can't remember if he played a Hammond or not, but lots of organ on here, good vocals, good grooves, dig this album, a lot of variety on it. Some of it's a little on the mellow side, but some of it's pretty raucous and heavy, so really, really good stuff. So there you have it. Boomerang, Armageddon, Blind Faith, California Breed, Bakerloo, Trigger, Natural Gas, Dr. Butcher, Coverdale-Page, and Saint Paradise. There's 10 picks for today. One album wonders. Remember, bands that only released one album. So there's more coming, guys. I have like 3 more stacks to do, probably 4. So I might be able to squeeze 5 episodes out of this, maybe more, because I have some that I haven't even found for my collection yet. So we could be doing this for a couple weeks, and that would be pretty cool. Because I think it's always good to look back on some of these bands and what could have been if they would have stayed together and kept going, right? So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. If you like what you see, please hit the Ko-Fi button down in the video description and buy me a coffee or a tea. I don't actually drink coffee, but I'll buy me a tea. That'll be cool. Anything you can contribute will definitely help out the site, keep this thing going, right? And we've also got the link down below to our website at www.seatranquility.org. You also got the link to our merchandise page, so go ahead and buy yourself a t-shirt, a hoodie, a cap, a snow hat, coffee mug, stickers. I think that's everything we got. We got a whole wide selection of stuff there with our logos, so check that out as well. So we'll see you guys. Oh, man, we got so much stuff coming up. So we got interviews this week with John Petrucci from Dream Theater. We got interviews with Jocko Jaksic from King Crimson. I'm going to try and squeeze in an interview with Kurt Vanderhoof from Metal Church and Presto Ballet this week as well. In addition, part 2 of our interview with Carmine Appice. In addition, Steve Fleck coming on the show tonight. We are going to top 10 songs of Dire Straits and top 10 songs of The Outlaws. Simon Bray coming on the show this week. We've got ranking the albums of The Outlaws, ranking the albums of REO Speedwagon. Martin Popoff's coming back on the show this week. We've got, oh God, what are we doing here? So Martin Popoff and Chris Allo both appearing on the show together at the same time, and we're going to talk about some of our most disappointing live albums and give the various reasons why. Martin and I are also going to do parts 3 and 4 of our series of certain bands who have a history of bad album covers, right? And then on Monday night, tomorrow night, the Hudson Valley Squares, Nick Franco, Chris Allo, and Ryan Scow are coming back on the show, and we're going to be doing, God, what are we doing? Hold on, I'm trying to remember. 3 albums each. We're going to call it, and one of our viewers actually suggested this, Skeletons in the Closet. So 3 albums that we have in our collection, CDs, albums, whatever, that are real guilty pleasures that we maybe don't tell people about all the time. So stick around for that. That should be fun, as well as we're going to do 2 shows actually for this week. And the other one, we're going to talk about some of the worst band names we've ever encountered. All right, so that's coming up as well. In addition, Ryan Scow also is going to help me out. We're going to do ranking the albums of Manila Road. I know they've been asked for quite a bit from some of you. And, man, if that isn't enough, I don't know what. There's other stuff. All I'm hoping to do this week, I'm going to rank the studio albums of Birth Control, great German heavy rock prog act from the 70s. They're still around today, so they've been releasing albums all throughout last bunch of decades. What else? I don't think I'm going to get to it this week, but I'm still working on Steve Hackett ranking the studio albums as well. We're going to do Agitation Free ranking the studio albums. What else? Top 10 songs coming up of Loudness, top 10 songs of Mr. Big, top 10 songs of Foghat. Oh, man. So much stuff, as you can see. So anyway, there you have it. Plus parts 3, 4, and perhaps 5, maybe 6 of this particular format, which is one album wonders. So, man, so much coming up. All right, so please stay tuned. I want to urge everybody, please look at the playlist and use the search capability on the channel, because I'm getting like at least a dozen people every single day on every video saying, Peter, are you ever going to do a show on such and such? Just do a search or go into the playlist, because I would say 50 to 75% of the time, these bands that you're asking for, I've already taken care of, I've already done. So please go look at there first, and just understand, there's some people that they click on a video, and before even watching the video, they're like, please do this band, do this. Guys, watch the video, and my to-do list is enormous. All right, so, and there's some bands that you're recommending that I'm just not into, and I don't have much knowledge on or history with the music. So if I don't respond to you, or I just say I'm not going to cover that band, don't take it personally. It's just that, I'm not the right guy for that band. That's all. So anyway, a lot of information I just threw at you. So we'll see you guys all later on. Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.